The ANC veterans are expected to hold a meeting today. It will look at the progress made after the veterans asked the ANC to hold a consultative conference on the challenges that the party is facing. The meeting will also look at the January the 8th statement, which party President Jacob Zuma delivered at Orlando Stadium in Soweto on Sunday. Last week, on the sidelines of the NEC meeting, ANC Secretary General Gwede Mantashe reiterated that the consultative conference would take place 2 days before the policy conference in June. Well, we're expecting that briefing to get underway around 2:30 this afternoon. In the meantime, let's get an update on what we're expecting from this. Our reporter Aldrin St. Pierre joins us now live from Parktown. Aldrin, good afternoon. The vets expected to discuss what came out of the January the 8th statement, and then there's still this issue of them wanting a separate national policy conference from the National Consultative Conference.
Well, yes, Natasha, just got off the phone with the spokesperson who's speaking on behalf of the veterans, who said that the veterans are still clear that they want a separate consultative conference to the policy conference. Remember that the policy conference will be taking place in June. They say for the consultative conference to be substantial, it must be separate from the consultative conference. And remember, even last year in December, after the NEC had made that announcement that the consultative conference will be taking place but attached to the policy conference, the veterans then said that that's not the route to go. They've made it clear. They believe that for this to be substantive and for issues to be dealt with, with true meaning, it must be held separately from the policy conference. And as you've indicated, that Gwede Mantashe, as recent as earlier as last week rather, said that the consultative conference will continue being attached to the policy conference or just before the policy conference. We'll have to wait and see what the veterans say the next step is for them, and to ensure, or to rather push the president as well as the leadership of the ANC to have the consultative conference, or to have the consultative conference separately, considering as well that you had the January 8th statement, in the January 8th statement, which wasn't part of the speech that President Jacob Zuma delivered, the NEC indicated the role that the veterans have to play and how they should be respected in terms of their contribution towards building the party. So we'll have to wait and see how exactly that will play out, considering that you have the Secretary General who's already said that the consultative conference must be attached to the policy conference because there's an issue around money.
All right, so let's just look then at the issues that have been brought to the fore. Let's revisit some of those, Aldrin, and are we likely to hear anything more on those today?
Well, certainly. Let's take a few steps back. After the August elections, there were many concerns within the party, considering that the ANC lost some 8% of national support base during the local government elections. Various groupings within the ANC came out. Remember that we also had the hashtag Occupy Luthuli House. And this one, the ANC veterans, first they were called the ANC 101. It was 101 veterans of the ANC, including the likes of Frank Chikane, Cheryl Carolus, who were signatories to a document speaking to saving the country as well as saving the ANC. And some of the issues that were raised there centered around the role of President Jacob Zuma in the decline of the ANC's national support base. They called on the leadership. They said that they want to speak to President Jacob Zuma, and the president at that time had not hit the call. Remember that even former President Thabo Mbeki had written to President Jacob Zuma asking him to meet with the veterans, telling him about the role that the veterans had played and the leadership role that they've played in building the party and the support that they could give the party going forward. Remember that President Jacob Zuma at a rally in Pietermaritzburg responded to former President Thabo Mbeki, accusing him rather of leaking the letter, which was meant only for President Jacob Zuma. And of course, the Gwede Mantashe was also copied in that letter that was sent to President Jacob Zuma. So a whole host of issues that were raised, but the issues obviously surrounding President Jacob Zuma, when eventually the veterans had a meeting with the ANC's NEC, including President Jacob Zuma, the National Working Committee as well. The veterans then took a step back. They were more subdued and they weren't calling on President Jacob Zuma to resign, although there were individuals within the group of veterans who were still calling on President Jacob Zuma to resign. And they believe one of the reasons that the ANC support base has declined is because of lack of leadership within the party, and President Jacob Zuma is at the helm of the leadership of the ANC.
Aldrin, thank you very much. We'll have to leave it there. Aldrin Sampier live from Parktown ahead of that ANC Veterans Media briefing.